Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Liv. I am a Colorado makeup artist and I love everything related to makeup and beauty. I actually haven't been posting for the past few months. I posted one video last week on the new Natasha Denona Yucca palette, which I absolutely love. But today I wanted to show you what my go-to makeup and my look is because I haven't shared it with you in a while, and I think it's really pretty. I enjoy doing it, and I'm just kind of looking for a casual day here. So before we get started, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me, and we'll get going. My skin leans towards combination, but more so like balanced on the outskirts and then like oily through the center. So my go-to primer is from Milk. It's their Pore Eclipse Mattifying Primer. I've been using this for probably 6 months straight now. Like, I don't use any other primers. And it has not done me wrong in the entire time that I've been using it. I actually have one specifically for my professional makeup kit. That's how much I love it. It just works really well. My favorite foundation right now is from Beauty Blender. This is their Bounce Skin Tint. I have actually gone through a whole one of these before, and I repurchased this one in the recent spring Sephora sale because I went through it. I loved it so much. And for the summertime, it's really been working. It's not leaving me too shiny throughout the day, which I'm sure has a lot to do with that primer. But it's also not like creasing on my chin or getting flaky. It's just wearing really well lately, so it's my favorite right now. Lately, I have felt like my under eyes have had a little extra blue than normal, so I've actually been using the Becca Brightening Corrector. This is in the light pink shade, but I've just been putting a little extra like right in that spot that gets a little blue. I feel like it helps my concealer last a little bit longer too. Like towards the end of the day, your concealer can kind of fade, and towards the end of the day after doing this, my concealer doesn't seem to fade as much, so that blue is not peeking through. So I add a little bit of the corrector, and then I use the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. I've been in love with this since I picked it up. I think I picked this up in the fall Sephora sale, and I've been using it since. It's good. It's good stuff. So I just apply it in the center of the face, and then I go ahead and blend it out with a brush. Next, I go in with my Charlotte Tilbury. It's the Beautiful Skin Cream Bronzer. It's probably been a year or so since this has come out. It's my favorite cream bronzer. Like, you can see, there's a good sized dent in there. I bet I'm really close to hitting pan, but I think it's beautiful. I use the shade Medium because I think it goes from fair to medium, and normally I'm in the light category, but this shade works really well for me. Makes me bronze, and that's how I like it. So I use bronzer to warm up my cheeks, my forehead, and kind of contouring my nose. But then I take my sponge that I bounced all my foundation with and kind of blend it a little bit more. So like sometimes I get a little too much bronzer down here, and the sponge just helps clean it up a bit. I've also been super obsessed with this M Cosmetics So Soft blush. This is in the shade Lychee. It's a pretty bright pink, but I think it is so beautiful, especially for summer right now. It's just working with all of my outfits and like my idea for the day of how I want to do my makeup. It's just working for all of it. And the nice thing is I have a really good powder bronzer that goes on top of it to make it last all day. But same thing, I just use my sponge to make sure it's blended. I use my Givenchy Prisme Libre setting powder. If you're okay spending a good chunk of change on a powder, this is the only one you will ever need. But it is quite expensive, and it's not something I can regularly repurchase. So like, it's not even the one I carry in my professional kit. I carry a bit more affordable ones like the Huda Beauty and Laura Mercier powders and the RCMA powders. But for my personal collection, the Givenchy powder is my go-to. It's the only one I use. And then I just use a puff to set it under my eyes. And even though it's a loose powder, I actually use it to set my entire face. I set my whole face because I have oilier skin, but if you have dry skin, I don't think you actually need to set your entire face. But I do go over it with a sponge, just like I do basically everything else, to pick up any excess powder. That way I don't get too powdery. I am a little bit more extra when it comes to makeup, so even though I've used cream products, I do like to go over them with powder products and just amplify them a little bit, bring them back a little bit. So this is a powder bronzer. This is from Makeup by Mario. I also use the powder bronzer to go down my neck a little bit. That way my neck is not so crazy discolored from my neck and shoulders. I have some pretty intense blue veins in my neck too, so I put foundation down there and then I go over with the bronzer and it kind of helps tone down the blue veins. And then I mentioned I have a really good blush that goes well with the Lychee shade, and it is from Makeup by Mario. This is a powder blush and it's in the shade Mellow Mauve. And the two colors stacked, they're both like a really pretty pink, but layering them, it makes the blush last so much longer. So you can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, do your makeup, and then by the time you get home, you're still gonna have blush, because blush is the first thing to fade throughout the day. And then even though they're powder products, I still take my sponge and just go around the edges to make sure it's all nicely blended. And then my favorite highlight right now is from Natasha Denona. Don't mind my messy palette, but this is the highlight in the Glam face palette. This is in the shade Light, technically. And obviously I like it. I hit the pan. It's done me well. And I just add a little bit to the high points of my cheeks, a little on the bridge of my nose, the tip of my nose, and the Cupid's bow. And then I use my sponge to press it in. That way it doesn't like stand off of my face. That way it's blended into the blush. And then you have a really pretty glow. My go-to setting spray is from Charlotte Tilbury. I'm actually almost empty. I just shook it so there are bubbles. I prime my eyes with the Rare Beauty eye primer. I do have hooded eyes, so typically if I don't use some sort of primer on my eyes, my eyeshadow will crease significantly. But I have found that this one and the Urban Decay eye primer potion, those two are really good for long days. I'm sort of in the habit to be using the Rare Beauty one right now because I like that it's tinted. And I know that the Urban Decay primer potions, there are different shades of them, but I'm geared towards this one right now because I like the tint to it. And it does work really well to help with the creasing in my eyeshadow. So I hope you didn't think we were done with this palette. This is my go-to palette right now. I basically use 3 shades out of it. So I take this shade called Crease, and I really pack it onto like a big fluffy brush, and I place it all over. And I take it up to like above where my normal crease is so you can still see the color. And then once it's kind of messily packed on everywhere, I take the same brush and I blend the edges using circular motions. And eventually it blends all the way up to my eyebrow. So it's deepest towards my lash line, and then as you go up it kind of gets lighter with the blending. Then I like to take a smaller fluffy brush. I take the same shade and I apply it on the lower lash line. And I make sure to connect it to this outer part, that way it looks cohesive. And because I am a person who likes sparkle and shimmers, I then go into this shade, which is actually called Outer Corner, and I apply it with my finger because Natasha Denona shades tend to apply better with your finger than a brush. It's just a lot less fallout. And I know the shade is called Outer Corner. I put it across the entire lid. And then I go back into my blending brush and just go along the edges of that shimmer so it's not like a harsh line between shimmer and matte. There is still some fallout even with packing it on your finger, but I just take a big fluffy brush and sweep it away, and it typically goes away. And then I like to go into this shimmer shade, which is called Inner Corner, and I use my small brush again. And because I have fake nails, I can't use my fingers to apply this, so I just try to make sure it's tapped off pretty well. And I apply the inner corner in the inner corner. Sometimes I will even use the highlight that is in this palette that I put on my cheeks earlier. Sometimes I'll use that as an inner corner, but basically it all can be found in this palette. And that's how I do my eyes. I'm going to apply some mascara and put my brows on, and then we'll come back to finish the lips. Okay, my mascara is a little messy right now, but bear with me. I'm just letting it dry and then I will pick it off later. And since my go-to look is pretty neutral, I go in with a brown lip liner. This is from Buxom in the shade High Def Honey. It's their Powerline Plumping lip liners. I really like these ones because one, they're twistable, and two, it's got a cool shape to it, so it works really well with my lip shape. I also really like that when I mess up, there's a little brush on the other end of the lip liner. And I can clean it up a little bit. And then my go-to lipstick is from Maybelline, actually. It's in the shade Nude Lust. I don't know, they're like the satin lipsticks. Just the one, like you go to the grocery store, you'll find it there. Or Walmart, or Target even. But like I got mine at the grocery store. And then you've got a really pretty like nude lip. And then I go back in with the lip liner because sometimes I get a little wild with the lipstick. Alright, so here is my everyday go-to kind of look lately. I'm going to be honest, I don't do my makeup every day. So when I say every day, I mean like if I'm actually going to get ready, this is what I do. Now I know it might be a lot to some, but this is what makes me feel pretty. This is what makes me feel joy. I just enjoy the process of creating this as well. So this is my everyday go-to look. And I love the eyes in particular. That's my favorite part. But I think cohesively it all works. It's all pretty neutral color. So like I'm okay if I need to go to Walmart. I'm okay if I need to go to the grocery store. Heck, I'd probably be okay if I went to a specialized event with this kind of look too. So it's like everything. I will have everything that I used in the description below. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and let me know. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. I'm trying to post once a week now, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.